Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Catching Up with Aaron, episode number 4. We're officially on the 4th episode of this series. It seems small, but for me, it's really important and really nice to have this kind of creative outlet. I really enjoy making these videos. As you can see, I'm back at WeWork here. So again, I just appreciate everyone who's tuning in, and got a lot of great feedback as well in the last couple of episodes with the way that I promote it in terms of the snippets and the different background and everything like that. So hopefully, last week I talked about work-life balance and what that looked like, and a lot of people reached out to me and enjoyed sort of my perspective and gave their opinions as well, and that's what this whole series is about. So welcome back again to episode number 4. This past week has been very busy, a lot of different things going on at once right now from different aspects of my life, both personal and as well professional. And I think, as last week's episode is all about, you have to find that work-life balance and try to see what that looks like for you. So it's a very exciting time. The weather, again, is getting better. Summer's kind of around the corner. In a week, it's going to be June. So just a lot of exciting things, and I'm really looking forward to what the summer has in store for me. But what I really wanted to focus on this week was actually about a topic that I discussed with my business coach, Dina. I've been working with Dina for almost 3 months now, and it's been great in terms of everything in regards to understanding the whys and why there might be potential blockers in my life, both again on the business side. So one thing that we discussed was actually about why I was personally struggling to post Instagram stories and to be more consistent on that platform. And I never really talked about this out loud. I thought about it internally, but actually didn't express it to someone else until I had this conversation with her. And we talked about essentially why I was struggling to keep up with the Instagram stories and being consistent. And long story short is that back in 2018, when I first started Beneath Vancouver, I was very, very active on the platform. It's all I used. I was on Instagram 24/7, trying to grow, trying to network, trying to meet people, promoting the content or the brand on social, both my personal and the Beneath Vancouver Instagram. And I got into a very toxic relationship with the platform. And I think a lot of people potentially can relate with this in terms of having a healthy relationship with social media or the internet as a whole. But I'm going to focus more on social media. And I can honestly say that obviously that relationship was not healthy at all. I was very addicted. I wanted to try to see what other people were doing, in the sense of not just I'm interested in, seeing what my friend Bob is doing. It was more like, I want to see what Bob is doing, and I want to know why Bob's there and why I'm not at Bob's level. Again, I use Bob as a reference, but the case is the same for anyone really. And that was kind of the differentiation there between using it healthy and using it not healthy. So I was trying to compare myself 24/7. I was trying to make sure that the content was perfect, that it was, up to my potentially unrealistic standards sometimes. And, I just became very, very reliant on the platform. I wake up, it would be Instagram, scroll. Every second of the day that I would have, I would not be doing something, my mind automatically went to Instagram, and it was almost like a crutch. I needed to be attached to it at some level. And funny enough, when the pandemic hit in 2020, I stopped using it because I wasn't doing any of Beneath Vancouver things anymore, right? Everything had just went to a complete halt. And I think it wasn't until life started to slow down. And I encourage, if you're tuning in and you're sort of maybe not necessarily in a toxic relationship with social, but just you're struggling to take that time, is when things slow down, or when you have an opportunity to kind of take a step back and reflect. I talked about this in the first episode. Just see what your relationship is with that thing, or even potentially that person, and understand why is it an unhealthy one. And for me, I started to realize it's unhealthy because I'm relying on this app so much. I live and breathe by this app. My life is this app, right? And might sound a little melodramatic, but it's not actually till you realize where you were where you kind of say like, wow, like that's not that's not okay. Instagram, that's not okay. Or more like myself, it's not really Instagram's fault per se. It's more my realization and coming to that understanding internally. And I think that's really important in any part of life. But when the pandemic hit and things slowed down and I was able to take a step back and not use the platform anymore, I noticed how toxic it was. And I, told myself, I'm not going to let myself get back to that level, because it was not sustainable, it was unhealthy, and it was just not something that I wanted it to be a part of my daily life. And, obviously fast forward to where we are now. And I would say for the most part, I have a pretty healthy relationship. Obviously I still use the app. I'm not saying you go complete cold turkey and you don't use the app, but it's a bit different now. I'm not on the app to consistently compare myself to other people's successes. Because obviously on Instagram, you just see the highlights, you just see the ups, for the most part at least. You just see the ups, but not a lot of the downs. And I said to myself, I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to stop being such more of a creator than a consumer. And I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, I would say for the most part, especially, in the post-pandemic world, or from 2020, sorry, let me rephrase that. From 2020, when the pandemic hit, to arguably now, my Instagram has been pretty much in a hiatus for occasional, every few pictures every now and then. Just because I didn't know what to post, or I just didn't feel the need to post. Obviously now, as I continue to create these kind of content pieces for you and to continue to develop my personal brand, I'm starting to leverage it a bit more. But going back to my original point, I kind of went on a tangent there, but I wanted to provide some context for kind of the discussion from today or for this week. And it wasn't until I, again, expressed that externally to someone where I was like, maybe that's why I'm not necessarily confident, because I feel like I'm confident in a camera. Like I've been getting better. I'm obviously not perfect, but it's not so much that I don't want to do it or that I'm nervous to take a selfie or record a video. It's more like I just didn't feel the innate need to actually do it, because I was thinking more of I wasn't thinking so much of a creator perspective anymore as I was a consumer. And even then, my consumer side was relatively low compared to 2018. That's sort of the baseline for this example. So I might have lost some of you there, and you might be thinking, this is a very long-winded answer, but essentially what I'm trying to get across is to not be afraid to essentially really be honest again and respect your boundaries as a person. And I think as well, I spoke about this also kind of in a similar sort of topic with a good friend of mine, Josh, who's going to be on the podcast, or we've had the podcast and he'll be on the podcast when I release the new episodes out in June next week. But we were talking about setting boundaries in terms of even communicating with friends and setting up those boundaries of, what, I'm doing work or I'm busy. I'm not feeling the need to communicate that with you. And we live in a world where there's so much hyperconnectivity and you feel the need to potentially reply right away. I mean, even there's this quote that said people shouldn't need to, or not quote, but this meme I saw online, people shouldn't feel the need to say sorry for apologizing, or people should not feel the need to apologize for replying late. In a business setting or in a personal setting, I wasn't too sure what the topic was referring to, or that particular content piece. But even in a personal setting, I've done it before, where you're so sorry for the late reply. The reply is maybe 24 hours, right? I mean, that's realistic. What's the norm now for replying? Should you get a response right away? If you get an email and you're connected on your phone, you're gonna get the notification or the bling of such and such sent you an email, reply. And that's sort of, I feel the mentality, at least from what I can, again, purely my opinion, and there's no, hard facts or anything like that, but just from personal opinion, personal anecdotes, that's what I've seen. And I've fallen myself a victim of that, of the need to reply right away. So, I've done tips on how to prevent that. Again, setting work boundaries of after 7 or after 8, I'm not replying to anything work related. Using the features on your phone, the focus features, I actually just started using that a lot. Again, you might think it's a relatively small thing, but I use the focus feature, the do not disturb on my iPhone. And, I'm just trying to enter the state of deep work, and I don't feel the need of getting pinged. I don't get pinged anymore because the phone obviously won't push the notification to my home screen. And it just is a completely different work environment. And I'm curious as well to maybe talk about a little bit about those boundaries, or what you do to make your work experience better. So I've kind of divided this episode into two different things. I think the first bit was more of like that relationship with social, particularly Instagram, and the not toxicity behind it. But I think even there as well, like there's some overlap of the boundaries that you create as an individual with technology as a whole. And I'm curious to hear what your boundaries are, how you navigate that, how do you make sure again that you're keeping that balance, that work-life balance. So yeah, I think for the most part, that's definitely what I wanted to bring up, is like, we're just so connected, but at the same time is how can we disconnect when we're always connected and stop getting that stimuli for our brain. So maybe a topic for a different discussion, but I'd love to hear what everyone else thinks in the comments down below. But yeah, I think this was maybe a little bit of a shorter episode, but I really just wanted to dive right into that conversation. And episode number 4, I'm really appreciative everyone for their support. I really do appreciate it when you send a message, share it, or whatever the case might be. I'll be continuing to do these series. I'm really looking forward to that. Next week, I'm going to be in a different setting. I won't spoil the beans as to where I will be, or not spoil it, spill the beans as to where I'll be. But I'll let you know in next week's episode. But it won't be this WeWork. That's as far as I'll say. But who knows? I'll let you guys know. But thank you again for tuning in. This was episode number 4 Catching Up with Aaron. And yeah, thanks for everything. It's been already a month's worth of episodes. Hopefully for another month we continue to do this and continue to have these authentic conversations and dialogue, and start breaking down some things that some people might not be interested, or some people might not know where to talk or where to even find those conversations. So thank you again for the support, and I'll catch you on episode number 5. Take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your week. Bye-bye.